Mic's going. Camera going. Jesus Christ. It's going to sound fantastic. Down the water. You've seen the title. Your eyes do not deceive you. It is I, Xavier. This is my boy.
Hi.
This is my boy John here. We're doing a decade tier list because we're schmucks. We've chose, what's this, 35?
It's a lot.
Yeah, we chose a good 35 of our favorite albums. Now, we had to fill a little bit of space in, so if we blank out on some of these albums, that's why. But 35 of our favorite albums from the past decade. That's about it.
Yeah, some of them decades were hella weak, though, so we had to pick out a few.
Yeah, like I said, we had to fill in some space. So we have the tier, great, no skips, good, and various sounds of disinterest. Get that away from me. Excuse me? Is that barf? No, it's just Drake's Take Care. No, it doesn't Take Care.
Oh,
what album is this? Which one is this? Thank Me Later.
Yeah, that's Thank Me Later.
Hell yeah. That could have been a smooth transition, but I flubbed. How do we feel about Thank Me Later? We're just getting right into it.
Thank Me Later is a great project.
The hits were hitting, and if it wasn't like a banger, it was super slow, man. And there was no in between. I feel like
That's
like
true.
like over smack. Okay, so what's the first song?
The first song is Fireworks.
I didn't like Fireworks.
You didn't like Alicia Keys on it?
No, I got Karaoke, The Renaissance. It
The
picks
Resistance. Yeah, words are hard, aren't they?
the basis of this. The hits were hits and the misses were just very slow. What was dope is the you have the classic Drake beat switch on Fancy. Remember Fancy with Swizz Beatz and T.I.?
Mm-hmm.
The second half of Fancy, bro, it's Euphoria. Euphoria, my God. Oh, the sleeper on. It's so good. And it's like, you don't realize until hearing something like that he's always been doing these like dramatic beat switches.
Yeah.
And it's like,
The production with Drake has been pretty consistent over his career.
it has been, man.
You
The
know,
beat switches are classic. Because everybody nowadays, when you hear us beat switch, it's like hype. It's like it's like it gets even more trappy.
Yeah.
It's like the producer's like, "Oh, you thought you heard drums a minute ago,
Yeah, 40's like rubs his bald head and he's just like, I'm gonna show you some shit.
bro? You're like, check this out." But Drake's beat switches are just mellow and he just gets in a certain pocket, bro. 0 to 100.
Beat switches are. I mean, well, shit on that song he just came out with Future has a beat switch in it.
Yeah, bro.
100,000 on, you know.
Drake's maybe the king of beat switches. What do we think? We're gonna wrap this up.
It gets in the good column. I think I wouldn't put it as I, but I wouldn't put it at great no skips neither. You know what I'm saying?
Good is very safe for this. What do we have next? Should we go right into this, or should we just tease it? Should we just save the best for last? I feel like we're already here.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Right.
So right off bat, this is hot tier. This is hot tier. For one thing, here's my argument.
Then Fantano kicks in the door.
Dude.
He's like 6 out of 10. Fuck you.
Nicki Minaj on the intro and her verse, bro. Rick Ross after the guitar solo, which was at least 30 seconds to a minute long. I feel like longer. I'm being generous, but Rick Ross.
Oh, I need to put a track list.
Rick Ross with one of his best feature verses on I'm pretty sure Devil in a New Dress.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Okay, I thought you were talking about on the intro. Like, if Rick Ross was not on the intro.
He wasn't on the intro. He was on the Devil in a New Dress, I'm pretty sure, after this crazy guitar solo. What I remember, dude, I distinctively remember, like, my first introduction to this album was Good Fridays, I think. I was listening to Good Fridays, which was basically, he would put out a single, I don't want to say like a throwaway per se, but something that didn't make the album.
I would say it was a cut.
Yeah, just like some cuts. And he, of course, put it out every Friday with him and the Good Music Gang. Don't Look Down, Christmas in Harlem, and my favorite, Christian Dior, Denim Flow. We're not even talking about the album anymore, I'm sorry, but just the whole world that he created around this just is Have you heard Christian Dior Denim Flow? Bro, Christian Dior Denim Flow. I'm so sorry. It's Kanye, Sci-Hi to Prince, I'm pretty sure Kid Cudi on. So Appalled, Looking for Trouble. J. Cole snapped on Looking for Trouble. I'm going everywhere right now, but the basis, what I'm trying to say is this album is peak Ye. There's a lot of decade lists out there that's saying this is the album of the decade because there's something for everybody. He's pulling influences from Bon Iver and stuff like that. He's having Nicki Minaj having the spotlight on that monster verse.
Lost in the World was so good.
Lost in the World was crazy, bro. It was on the peak of that, Beyonce had the best video, like Tobacco and whatnot, and he just went to Hawaii, and RZA was describing it as the work ethic of these Kanye and his homies in the studio. They wake up every morning, they eat breakfast together, they talk about what happened yesterday and what they're gonna do better. When they're in the studio, the breakfast, working out, do some charity work, their good deed for the day. Then they go into the studio all tuxedoed out. This is how Chris Rock and RZA described it. They're just I guess like a professional. I don't know what kind of mindset he was in at the time of making this, but God, it's so many things just racing through my mind right now. Just like I said, Lost in the World. You have Devil in a New Dress. Power. Remember the Power video? The Power video, bro.
Dude, Power was in so many. It's still in so many like movie trailers and like.
Oh my God,
I mean,
bro.
Power is like top 5 most impactful songs.
It's got to be, bro. All of the lights. Sci-Hi to Prince. And
all the lights and probably in there too. I mean, like so many like. I don't know. Because like today you get bangers and it's just a whole bunch of 808s. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for a good trap banger, but like, I don't know. The way Ye did it was just different.
There was like depth. He thought about everything was so calculated. I feel like I said, the studio was sessions. He did them and everybody in there was wearing tuxedos and whatnot. He wanted to create this mindset for this album, bro. And God, I want to get to Runaway. Runaway was maybe my first introduction to Pusha T. And I keep referencing the documentary, I'm so sorry, but apparently Ye was telling Pusha to get into this vicious mindset of this guy who just doesn't care about his chick. And I found that out I watched the documentary like 2-3 weeks ago, maybe for the first time. But I remember as a kid listening to Pusha T's verse, and I was like, I don't like this guy, but his I don't know how to describe it. Like, I like the execution of this verse. He's like barring out in the best way possible, and that he's embodying this character that I really don't like. And I remember thinking about that as a kid. I was like, what attracts me to this, and also what makes me hate him. It's like this balancing this dynamic. This was such an amazing album. It's here. I feel like. Where do you think this belongs? Because we spoke so loud. We spoke yesterday about these albums and stuff like that. We had to switch a couple around, and you said this isn't one of your tiers. Oh yeah, full disclosure. I only have one rule for this. 3 albums I feel belong in the first tier, just to make it more, I don't know if I'm using this word right, but coveted, is that right?
Yeah, we can use it like that.
Okay, yeah, just to make it more special, so we're not throwing everything here, because we like a lot of albums in this list, and others we just don't know about. But yeah, that's the only rule for this, just to make it more special, just to make it more meaningful to these albums, just giving their proper respect. Only 3 albums in that tier.
It's definitely deserving to be there. I won't take anything away from it. If I could, I'd put it in between Great No Skips and Heavenly Noises, just so it could have a spot, because I feel like it's above the that 4th tier. I do believe it belongs in the 5th tier. However, considering the rules that we're abiding by right now, I just can't put it there. And those that know me probably know what direction I'm going in with my 3.
Yeah, and do keep in mind this list is mainly composed of our personal favorites and everything. Like I said,
Yeah.
the ones John had to listen to real quick was the ones I felt were really dope, and the same applies to me. The ones I had to listen to that would, probably affected John in some kind of way that he's attached to. Clearly, I am so attached to this album right here because this is just such a masterpiece. I don't think EA will ever do anything better. But we spent a lot of time on
That's
this
fair.
album.
I know.
Oh, I want to put it. I want to put it. Oh yeah, John. Can can I put it here and you debate me out of it? So when we get to your first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
I said, I
Just
feel-
to make it exciting.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't feel like I've said shit this whole time.
That's completely my fault, by the way. But before we move on, I guess, do you have any memories or
Yes, I
thoughts
do. I
on-
do have a lot to say about this. I really do enjoy this album. This is I don't know. Here we go. Because this is it's like, what's your favorite Kanye album? And that's just, it's so hard to sit there and describe. For me, I was bounced back between this one and the original College Dropout. But I probably would have to go with this one. Just because I'm only 22 years old. So the College Dropout for me, I wasn't able to kind of digest that when I was at that age. Like, I had to come back later when I was like 17 years old, 18 years old, and listen to Ye. Oh, that's what
the camera's like I had enough. The
Oh.
camera's like I'm allergic to bullshit.
Anyway, but this is still going, so we can do a little banter thing like we did in that one video. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
but I think the songs that I like the most off of it, probably Gorgeous, Hell of a Life, and Lost in the World. And All the Lights is obviously very good as well, but I feel like everybody likes All the Lights. And Power. But all of them are so good. I don't. There's not a single song on here where I'm like, about. Because obviously you have Runaway, which is, I don't know. To me, Runaway was more of like a. Because didn't he turn into like a short film?
Yeah, the short film that accompanied. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this album he killed it. This is like the closest thing to perfection that Ye has ever came to. I think he said that too. I think that's what he was shooting for. But yeah, it's tremendous. It's absolutely a fantastic album. If I was gonna try to put anybody on a Kanye West that wasn't really sure, they were on the fence, I would have them listen to this album. Also, final thing I gotta say on it: best outro of all time, Blame Game.
God, Blame Game was crazy.
The Chris Rock.
The bull with the bezel? That's so twisted. Had this shit on in the sauce. I remember.
Next one. What's
Oh
this?
boy, it's my white boy obligation to talk about this now. Ooh boy.
So we are on Eminem's
Yes.
Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I skimmed the track list. Ones I remember, of course. What was it that I got excited over?
Oh, you got about Won't Back Down.
Dude, Won't Back Down. That was at a weird time where everybody. Remember, I don't know if I should insert the Black Ops trailer, but if you know, you know. The Black Ops trailer, and I don't listen to, that was Pink on there, right?
Yeah.
Every time I hear that song, I think about the Black Ops trailer, which I didn't give a damn about Call of Duty until I heard that song and I saw it associated with the trailer for that game. It was so great. What else? Spacebound. We have Spacebound, right?
There's so many good. Okay, this is the last good Eminem album.
I was gonna say I didn't really like Spacebound.
You didn't like All right, well, he hates himself. But, and I don't know, all these Eminem stands are going to come out and be like,
Well, what about the Marshall Mathers OP2? That was okay.
like, yeah, it was. But it wasn't. It's okay. But this one, honestly, looking back on it and like, because I was born in 97, so this is like 13, 14-year-old. I remember going on a road trip to, what was it? It was like some indoor water park type hotel thing in Tennessee. And I remember my mom stopping in at a drugstore, and bring out the clean version of this album. It was the first time I'd ever heard it because we wanted to listen in the car, and we were in her Chrysler Pacifica, and it's me and my buddy
Did
Tom.
you say the clean version of this album?
Yes, the clean version of Recovery was the first version of this I'd heard. And my
John
mom,
heard 8 words on that album in total. A clean Eminem album is hilarious. The thought of that.
it's but I remember, and I was like, because I really wasn't really all that into hip hop until I became a teenager, and this is like my introduction, so to speak, to it. And I don't know, it was so good. Like, like Cold Wind Blows, like the intro was so good. You got Talking to Myself. All these, the only ones I really didn't like that much that I remember, and it's been a while since I listened to this. Not Afraid sucks.
Not Afraid was tragic. Bro.
It was, because it goes against like everything Eminem was. Like, Eminem's not supposed to be like, oh, don't be afraid, face your fears. It's supposed to tell me to go burn down a church. I don't want to hear about believing in myself. I want to hear some sadistic shit, and that's where everything went wrong. Because Eminem got clean, and he decided to get all, feeling good, and I don't like that. I want Eminem with the Jason mask and a chainsaw, damn it. I want to hear him talking about hanging himself by his dick from a tree. That's what I like.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Were the verses on Not Afraid bad?
I don't remember.
I feel like it was more of the hook, which we're getting now in this era's Eminem. And I'm not the biggest Eminem stan, no pun intended, but I feel like I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, I thought the hook of that song was so overbearingly bad that it just watered down. Because the music video was dope, and I'm sure the verses were great, but the hook was just so terrible. And that's what we're getting a lot of now with this modern Eminem. I feel like he's still barring out, but like, Jesus Christ, it's like egregious hooks that he's...
Orange porns going down thorns. Thorns,
he has some bad verses too. That's for another video. Past that, he did have some more. Cinderella Man is actually, I'm probably jumping out the window by saying this, but it's my favorite Eminem song. Keep in mind,
Of all time?
Of all time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, keep in mind, I don't know a lot about his discography.
You can pick any other one.
I'm sorry. I love the hook on Cinder. I
It's
think, what
a
was
good
his name?
song.
Kobe? If I had a time machine,
It was Kobe.
It was Kobe? Yes, bro. Kobe went off on Cinderella Man. He was the highlight of that album for me, which I remember nothing from except for that song. So why am I saying that? But sorry.
White Trash Party made my it jostled my 13-year-old Jimmy's. I was moving through it was fire. But there's so many good songs on this. However, like in the tier list of good Eminem albums, it's at the bottom. I put Relapse above this.
Ooh.
Personally.
Are we giving this an eye?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to go with an eye because, like, in terms of quality across, like, if you compare it to, like, the Marshall Mathers OP, the Slim Shady OP, the Eminem Show, like, classic Eminem albums, it definitely is not up to snuff. I would also put Relapse in the eye column. But it's like, do I really like it more than Thank Me Later?
I did just notice that. There's a Drake album over an Eminem album right now, and we might get canceled.
I know. I almost want to flip-flop the two.
I like being messy, so we're going to keep it. A$AP Rock, Live Love A$AP. Is that what this is?
Yeah, this is Live Love It. This is, and before, this is actually a mixtape. You can't rank it like this. Fuck you.
The meaning and like the definition, same thing, of mixtapes is being very it's becoming very blurred right now. It's so weird because this felt like
This was such an interesting mixtape project.
This felt like an album to me.
Well, a lot of
it was for sale, wasn't it?
I mean, you can download it on DatPiff still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. I was thinking we were doing the other one that you mentioned. Let's keep reviewing it as if it's that one.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's switch.
It's just a picture. Who cares?
Let's switch gears entirely then. Is Long Live A$AP.
Yeah. We're putting the cover right here. Ignore what you see or nor what you see on the screen recording. This is what I listen to.
Now this is a tremendous album.
This is a
It's
fantastic album.
significantly better than
I was talking about this, and I was wondering why isn't John coming in? And
I'm like, I like the mixtape. It was okay.
And I just want to get to we gotta talk about it. One Train.
Oh, so good.
Is it one of the greatest Posse tracks of all time? What do you think?
I would have to we'd have to do like a separate video on that, like to compare it to things like that.
That's
I'm having a hard time. I'm kind of drawing. It's a very, very good Posse track.
That's top 5.
But when you're talking
feel
about
like.
Posse, are you just talking about like having a whole bunch of people on one song? Is that what you mean?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
That's not in the group already.
Okay.
Like NWA wouldn't be a Posse track.
Okay. I was because it has like Kendrick Lamar and shit on it.
Bro. Because I feel like everybody on that track blew up in some sort of way, just very successful in their own rights. But I'm gonna say it again. This is one of them albums that Rocky, I feel like he just manifested. This is exactly what he wanted. He got all his friends on this song, bro. Like One Train is crazy. It's just this simple drum loop, and it's like Joey. You take a step back and you realize, wow, Joey's on a song with Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar
Action
has
Bronson,
it's
Danny
Action
Brown.
Bronson, bro. They're all on the same track, and you can't fathom it. But also, you're listening to them bar out, and it's like Jesus Christ. And Big Crit has the closing verse, which I feel like is this verse on there.
It's I actually have another good story about this. This is when I was like, this album came out when I was about to say, okay, cool, makes sense. When I was 16 years old, this album came out in 2013. My dad had given me a red GMC Sierra, but it didn't have an aux cord in it. So me and my buddy Mason, we only had a CD player, and Mason had gotten a whole bunch of CDs from his brother, and we had this album on a CD, and this is like the only thing that I listened to, him and I. So it's like this is like how I kind of, I don't know how to say this, like how I got like intimately familiar with this album because like the only thing I could listen to that, and like I had like a Tech Nine album, and then I don't know, I'd like sometimes like put my iPod up or something like that and listen to music. But this, I remember listening to One Train on repeat, Angels.
Goldie was on here, right?
Goldie was on here. It did the CD didn't have I Come Apart on it, but I Come Apart is a very underrated A$AP Rocky song. That hook is amazing. That I Come Apart.
No, bro. Good Hooks. Good Hooks is the intro track, bro. Who said you can't live forever? Dude, that's a crazy hook. I was reading this YouTube comment because I was watching the video for it, and they said the top comment was like, this hook was very ahead of its time for hip hop. And bro, God, that hook just hits differently. Like it comes out of nowhere too, because the song in general is kind of like it's a good introduction to the album. There's nothing crazy going on with it. It's trappy, A$AP's barring out and everything, and then the hook just takes you out of nowhere. It's just such a huge contrast between everything else that's going on in the song. It kind of reminds me of Bump by Brockhampton. It's very chaotic, and then at least I have a reason to live. It's very, just a very beautiful moment in the track. Then craziness afterwards. God, I love that intro. This is a very solid album. I feel like
definitely goes in the Great No Skips album. Actually,
Great No Skips.
Well, there is one skip for me, but a lot of people like this song. I'm not the biggest fan of Fashion Killa, personally. I don't know. I just don't like it. And talking about clothes just bores the shit out of me. However, I know a lot of people like this song a lot. Like it's like one of like a lot of people's favorite song on the album. So I will veto my opinion, and we can put it in the Great No Skips category because it's like my only.
Yeah, that's fair. I do feel the same about Fashion Killa too. Yeah. It's kind of meh.
Yeah,
I think I like it better if it was just like an instrumental.
Yeah, I adore your Dior. It's like shut the fuck up.
Wasn't Rihanna in that video too?
I don't remember.
I think she was in the video. Why do I know that? Section 80 by Kendrick Lamar.
Ooh.
Whoa. I listened to this morning, bro.
It's been a while since I listened to Section 80.
Pull up that track list, boy.
My gosh. But dude, this was such a good Kendrick album. It was just kind of before he started like I don't know. I feel like Good Kid, Mad City kind of just like he really just broke through. But this is like he was just right on the cusp of it. Like there were so many good songs like ADHD. Rigor Mortis is on here.
Rigor Mortis was crazy, bro. Rigor Mortis is one of those songs, right? It's
Blow
like,
My High, and or Po Man's Ronald Reagan era.
Oh yeah, who was on the hook of that?
Ronald Reagan era. Who was on the hook of
We're far from young and fun. That guy showed up on like 2 songs, and I don't know who made that decision in getting homie to sing on this Kid from Compton's album, but it's such a good marriage of.
Like Keisha's song, I feel like I don't know. You can really tell that Kendrick is heavily inspired by Pac because I feel like both Keisha's song and Tammy's song, to me, Keisha's song more in general. I believe
Keisha's song way more. Tammy's song was really good. I found it more funny than impactful because it was just the progression of like, okay, fuck these other niggas, fuck those niggas. It's like, okay, I'm with this bitch now and everything.
I don't know. Keisha's song to me was like his closest thing to like Brenda's Got a Baby.
Yeah, definitely the whole narrative with homegirl just hoeing and whatnot, and then it progresses to the end of her being just stabbed in the backseat of a car.
Keisha's song.
And then talking about how he played that song for his sister and everything, for his younger sister, I'm pretty sure he said. But
fantastic album.
Jeez, man, I think High Power was my no. High Power.
They took High Power off of this one too.
High Power was on mine.
It's not there on Apple. I don't know. Y'all can check y'all's Apple Music. It ain't on mine.
I have Play Music, so.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, hell, Google. My first
I have a single.
My first introduction to Kendrick Lamar was, I think, the BET Hip Hop Awards cipher with him, MGK, who else? B.O.B. I'm pretty sure.
Are you talking about on the Double XL cipher?
No, it wasn't Double XL. It was like the BET cipher. I know MGK and B.O.B. was on it. I'm pretty sure. And Kendrick just really stood out to me because he was this really short dude with really big ears, and he had this hilarious line about Oprah's coochie. And I remember seeing that for the first time, and I was like, well, I gotta listen. And the first song I listened to was High Power by him, and I really liked that music video, and I never sat down to, dabble what the whole message was about. He's very, cerebral the way he writes and stuff like that to this day, but like, sheesh, man, I was hooked to him ever since. And God, Ronald Reagan. Who was that guy on the? Oh,
I'm sorry. I was supposed to be looking that up. I was looking at Titty.
How do we feel about Section 80? Where's that going? Great no skips. All right.
Great no skips. Ooh, Recorder 4 is next. This is. You know what's funny about this album is that my favorite song on it doesn't even have Lil Wayne on it.
That's what I was about to say. You know a lot more about this album than me, so okay. I'm gonna leave it to you. What I will say is, as John prefaced, I think probably the most iconic thing about this album is that he used the same beat 3 times, which is
it's a great beat though.
Yeah, it's insane, and there's no real concept to it. It's just like, this is a hot beat, and I'm gonna put my friends on it, and it worked so well.
You said with the bum beat do that. With the chopping and screw that. Jeez, that's not my favorite song. That I don't know. I think Bun B's verse in there is hilarious. Bun B has a funny voice. Anyway,
Bun B has a dope.
But there are a ton of classics on this. From Blunt Blowing, Mega Man, 6 Foot. Oh my God! I was like reading off this track.
6 foot, 7 foot.
Isn't the intro the same bit?
Intro, interlude, and outro is the same beat.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it's really good. Blunt Blowing, Mega Man, 6 Foot. Oh my God! It's literally from tracks 2 through 13 are all just amazing.
Homie was barring out though, and I know that's such a redundant thing to say for Lil Wayne, but I don't think I've realized it. Because the most Lil Wayne I've listened to is probably from his Free Weezy album. That's my favorite project by him.
Oh.
But besides,
You mean the one I've never listened to?
it's very
it a mixtape?
Yeah. I think he made it around the time where he was having that beef with Baby and everything, and he wouldn't let him release 5 for some reason. Something like that. He was beefing with Baby at the time, and hence the title Free Weezy. But yeah, I'm clearly not too attached to this project, but I know by general consensus it is considered a classic.
It is very good. A lot of people put the Carter 3 ahead of it. You can say that. But does the Carter 3 have Andre 3 stacks on it with Tech 9 on the same song? I'm honestly gonna put it in the good column because I really don't fuck with the Bruno Mars. But I don't know. And then I say that like I don't know. Fuck man, I wish there was another category because I don't. It's significantly better because it's like it's in the same layer as Thank Me Later.
I love how Thank Me Later is becoming the point of reference for what we rank these albums.
Because I don't know, I almost want to put Thank Me Later in the I column because like honestly looking back on it, like there's only like 3 or 4 songs in there that I really like. But it's also not fair because like this album is significantly longer than Thank Me Later. But at the same time, it's like.
Well, then it becomes the quality over quantity. What do we think in terms of that?
Fuck it, switch them. All right.
I wanted to be messy.
I feel a lot better about this now.
Right. All right, where are we at? Oh, okay. Speaking of.
Okay, but it's okay, guys. We're gonna make up for it right now because this is the best Drake album there's ever been and there ever will be.
Now, personally, my favorite Drake album is
You're wrong.
If You're Reading This Is Too Late.
Oh, he's wrong. It's this one.
Now, what was on this one? We discussed that Headlines.
So many
was on there.
So many. This is
Hell Yeah, fucking right was on here, right?
Yes. So, but dude, you're only scratching the freaking surface of it, brother. I'll tell you something. Over My Dead Body, Shot For Me, Headlines, Crew Love, Take Care, Marvin's Room.
Crew Love was on here?
Yeah. Loving the Crew.
Oh, yeah. Crew Love was.
The Buried Alive interlude with Kendrick Lamar where he snaps. Then Underground Kings, Make Me Proud. It's such a good song.
Lord Knows is on here?
Yeah, so many, dude. The Motto, in my opinion, I know a lot of people I think it's an overrated song. I kind of find it, and fucking man, young get it. I don't like it. But, dude, so many. But like this is like the quintessential relationship feelings album for me. You know, to me, like this isn't just like there's just so much in here. It's just like it hits you in your gut, man, right in your soul, and it just feels good to listen to this album. But it also can make you feel like sad, but like it almost makes you feel good. If like I don't know. Like, I feel like everybody at least at one point in their life has cried to Marvin's Room. And I don't know. I just feel better after.
Jake definitely made it cool to be like
sappy as fuck.
Yeah, but
these hoes still ain't.
Yeah, just vulnerability and whatnot. Yeah. Drake is definitely he's transcended that. He's being himself in the coolest way possible, and it's like before he came around, I feel like there wasn't, of course, many vulnerable rap artists. Of course, it's the cool thing to do to flaunt your bitches and your hoes, but sometimes you just want to drop a chick off at the Cheesecake Factory, and that's the wrong album. But you know what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
He makes vulnerability look really cool, and like you said, Marvin's Room is definitely the epitome of that. Of you're just calling a girl while you're drunk, and you're like, "Hey, I can change."
But then it's like you just got like freaking like Underground Kings. Like in my opinion, it's really an underrated song. It's so good. The Buried Alive interlude is so good. It make me proud. But Nicki Minaj is a really really good verse in that too. It's just this is so good, so good. Practice. There's so many good. I mean,
Practice. Fun fact. I rapped over I actually rapped over 2 songs on this. I rapped over Practice on my SoundCloud link below, and I rapped over Cameras. Is Cameras on?
Yeah.
I rapped over Cameras for my ex, and that's still on my SoundCloud link below. So yeah, I guess this album had more influence on me than I realized.
Yes, it's a great album. It was so good. I remember listening to this album. My buddy Hayden had we were basically allowed free reign at his house, and we were like 14 years old, just having a whole bunch of high school girls come over, and we were like in the 8th grade, and we are. So
anyway,
we would listen to this, and we'd have girls come over, and we'd like chill out in the back
and donate to charity.
And we'd listen to this album, and we'd think about ways to solve world hunger, and generally just be good, upstanding children with these girls that were 3 years older than us, and we with our raging hormones, we just resisted.
It was actually a book club.
It was. It was. We read verses off the Bible.
Jesus Christmas.
While they were naked. Fucking great, no skips.
Alright, bet. Absolutely.
We're at my personal favorite Kendrick Lamar album.
Oh
The
my.
album.
Is this one of your hoods?
It's one of my hoods.
Oh, okay.
This is a fantastic album. I remember the first time I'd heard it, it was the best song I could have possibly have heard. I was up at my dad's house in Virginia. I was riding in the car, and I was listening to Pandora because before any streaming services come out, and I wasn't about to pay $15 for an album because I was a broke little fit. But I remember Mad City coming on. And if Pyrus and Crips all got along. And I immediately was like, and as soon as that yak, I don't know, I was just like blown away. Like I had my iPhone headphones, and I'm like, this is the hardest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And I'm like, I was like, shit, this album came out in like 2013. I was like, damn, I was 16. No. When did this album come out?
This isn't chronological.
Came out in 2012. I was like 14, 15 years old. So, and then I had to listen to it. So I went and I bought the album, and it is fantastic. It is so cohesive. Everything has its place. I have a huge problem with albums that outstay their welcome. Like if you're going to do a longer, like this album for example is an hour and a half long. It does not feel like it's an hour and a half long. And this is an hour and a half is also including the "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" remix with Jay-Z.
Oh, that was a thing, wasn't it?
And this is the deluxe edition, so it's got Black Boy Fly and Collect Calls on it. But so many good songs. I mean, Backseat Freestyle. I mean, obviously, "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" was a huge banger. Swimming Pools was a huge banger. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. I don't know. It's just the storytelling on it is fantastic.
Dude,
it's what made me want to start writing. Like I would write my own little raps and stuff, and I mean, I wasn't that good, but it would like make me want to like write stories and like kind of wow, a little Carter 4 for you. But it's so good. And like I don't know, I'd listen to Black Boy Fly all the time, super unironically, and I was like, this is me, like. Like The Recipe. Remember
the Recipe was dope. That wasn't a bonus, was it?
It was a bonus track.
Okay, gotcha.
Compton was really good. I don't know. It's like my inner hoodness came out. I'm like, ain't no city quite like mine.
Bro, there's a certain talent in a rap artist that can make you feel like you're in the place that they were from. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's like what we were talking about with the Drake album. Like you know me. Any pictures, I've been celibate for 22 years. You know what the case is. But when I listen to this album, when I listen to Take Care and stuff like that, it puts me in that mode and everything. So same with Good Kid, Mad City. It's like the craziness of Mad City and everything, like how it just progressed, and it just puts you in that environment of like just danger and everything, and just being just super cautious and just scared of where you're from, that paranoia that's instilled in you. And then what we have, like the art of peer pressure and whatnot. How he's like he's talking to his mom on the phone or whatever. He's just like, I'm chilling with the homies, but really in his head he's like, I'm about to catch my first felony. And it's one of those things where
I thought that was Backseat Freestyle.
no, I'm pretty sure it's the art of peer pressure where he was.
Oh
like,
no, you're right. It is the art of peer pressure. I was thinking about Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. You're right. Keep going.
But my main point was you have these artists, especially nowadays, these young artists that's talked about where they're from, and
It doesn't really make you feel as connected.
yeah, it's like if anything, it's more bragging about how they were living that kind of like hood lifestyle, and you know that we're gonna shoot you in your face and kill your entire family and whatnot. But it's like it's done in a what do you call it?
Braggadocious kind of a. I don't. It's
It kind of just glorifies it in a way, which is whatever. That's been people been doing that for a while, but
it's their prerogative.
this is one of those albums that it makes you scared, and it puts you in that mindset of just like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to be where he's from. This sounds depressing. This sounds like he's trapped, and it sounds like he's just this kid that really wants to not be where he is right now. He's trying to go straight, but there's all these outer forces that's, you know, trying to drive him to being dead or in jail.
This is my first Heavenly Noises. This is what put me on to Kendrick Lamar. It has always been at the top of my favorite rappers list. He's kind of gone up and down, but other rappers, which we're actually coming up on one of them, not right now, but in a minute here. Like, he's always been, 1 to 2, like top, or at least top 3. So this goes in my Heavenly Noises category. But where do you put it since this is your list?
I mean, no, we're both reviewing this. That's fair. That's fair. God damn it.
Next one, 1999 by Joey Badass.
1999. Okay, I don't remember too many tracks from this also, but I do remember the first time I've heard Hard Knock. I think a lot of people, safe to say, heard Hard Knock, and that was their introduction to Joey Badass.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Either that or the video he had with Capital Steez. I forgot what that one was called. Niggas don't want war. I'm a Martian with an army of Spartans. That one, you know what I'm talking about.
Was it Illuminati?
No, it's not Kill Illuminati. One with Capital Steez.
Suspect?
I think so. It would that one was
Pro
really,
Air in it too?
No. It was just him and Capital going back and forth. But okay, I put this album in here because, well, okay, first off, let me get to the first time I heard Joey Badass. So like the summer at my grandma's house, right? I wake up in the middle of the night because like I leave the TV on MTV Jams right before I go to sleep. My cousin likes the TV on. I prefer it off, but whatever, it's a different story. I'm like, if you like it on, whatever, we're just gonna go to sleep to some music. Woke up, 1 or 2 a.m. I had to pee, and Hard Knock was playing. And first off, the production on Hard Knock is crazy, but Joey, I'm pretty sure CJ Fly is on it, I think too. Yeah, I say that like you don't have the track list here, but it's Joey and CJ Fly, I think, and Joey is just barring off. And I'm just so dazed. It's so late at night, but I'm like, wow, this guy is spazzing. And I want to say Joey had to be, 16 or 17 when he recorded that song. I want to say 17. He was really young when he recorded that verse, which I found out later when I was like looking more into it. But he snapped, man, and he was always ahead of his time, I feel like, and just not sonically in terms of the music that he was making, but just lyrically. Like, he was the first young lyricist that I really like caught on to or whatever. Because when I was starting to get into rap, it was of course just like adults and whatnot. And I feel like Joey was the first just young lyricist that was like just had his head in the right space and was able to hold his ground with the like older people in the rap game. I was probably just uninformed at the time. I'm sure there's more people
Yeah,
that.
you're straight disrespecting Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah. Or am I? But 1999 was also crazy because it was all instrumentals. I'm pretty sure. I don't think most of the production was his, because I know this just came to streaming in the past year or two. Because he didn't own the beats. He was rapping over Knowledge. Shouts out to Knowledge. Knowledge. Well, I was gonna say he snapped on these, but if you know Knowledge, you know he does. His sampling is very weird. It's kind of experimental. It's just strange and mellow. And for Joey to be 16, 17, I forget how old he was at the time he recorded this, but for him to be at that age and have a palette for beats such as Knowledge, it was very interesting to hear. Also he's from New York, right?
Yeah, he's from. I think he's actually from Brooklyn. I'm probably either Brooklyn or the Bronx. I don't know. He's from New York City.
Yes.
I'm not educated with the boroughs. I just know Rocky was from Harlem because he says it a lot in his songs, and I don't listen to Joey Badass as much as I listen to ASAP.
Right,
Rocky.
but my main point is tapes like, you hear tapes like this and you hear tapes like No Ceilings and you're like, damn son, you can really just get a bunch of YouTube. Reason did it. Dude, in my head I was talking to the computer like it was the camera genuinely. Reason did it. The new signee from TDE. He rapped over a bunch of YouTube beats. That was his debut album, bro. It's like it can really be done if you have a good ear for production. I mean, definitely give the producers credit, of course, wherever you're grabbing it from. But it really set a standard. It's so good. It's so cohesive and just such a strong project composed of beats that this kid just likes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, same with No Ceiling, same with Reasons Project. They can be done. You use what you got basically, and that's what I took away from 1999. Yeah, I'm honestly gonna put it in good just because I don't remember that many of the songs. I just know what he did with the tape, and I just love what it represents. So just to be safe, we are going to place this in good. Shouts out to Joey, R.I.P. Steez, and John is gonna talk for an hour.
Oh boy, are you ready? Are you ready? Let the light shine down. Let the light shine down. This is the greatest project to ever be conceived by man.
So I'm assuming this is your other tier.
This is one of them. This is my favorite overall project of all time. This album this mixtape rather came out in 2013. I didn't hear it until 2014, 15. Because I don't know, I'm a very spastic, kind of highly energetic person for me. So like this album, I mean, immediately it comes up. It's like, and we back, and it's just, oh my god, it was so good. Oh, let me get the track list.
I couldn't stand Chance's voice. My first introduction to Chance was good ass intro. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's better than I was last time, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I couldn't stand his voice, and I couldn't fathom being in a world where hearing that in my so close to my ears was like, okay, this is fine. I hated Chance's voice for the longest time. Oh my god! I hated his voice. I obviously came around. I'm speaking in past tense, but Jesus, I honestly don't know what turned me around to change. I mean, of course, acid rap is fantastic. It's of course a certified hood classic. But damn, son, I don't know what got me to turn around. I guess I gave him some second chances because his voice was so obnoxious. But
everything was so okay. Let's talk about any negative with it first. Nah is annoying. The hook on Nah is annoying. The verse,
I like Action Bronson on it.
Action Bronson's good on it, and the verse Chance has is good on it. Nah is not a good hook. Regardless, I can live with it. everything else is so good. I can listen to this album on repeat and learn something and like hear something different in the background or like some sort of little it's just so good. Like I mean, you got good ass intro, Pusha Man, which is in my opinion it's cool because it has that like 30 to 35 second pause, and the reason they put that in there is because when you're tripping on acid, if you're sitting in a dark room and listening to complete silence, it gives you really insane visuals. So I mean, obviously it's acid rap, right? So it's kind of intended for you to be tripping while you're listening to it.
Where'd you hear that from?
I think I read it on Genius.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so I guess that little pause there is supposed to kind of make you, I wouldn't know. But, the classic Juice, which is really irritating that it didn't make the Apple Music cut.
Oh my goodness, that is a tragedy.
I know. So here, donate to my social works charity.
Juice was my ringtone for the longest time, bro. The energy and the pocket he was in on Juice was ridiculous.
Oh, it was so dope live too. I've seen Chance a couple times now. Don't give me. And this is also the last good Chance project.
Fun fact.
Because fuck Coloring Book.
Or obvious statement.
But everything is so good on here. Lost is really good. I mean, there's just, I don't know, for me it was like a really transformative, it kind of just made me feel good inside. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. I mean, with a lot of these albums, I mean, it's kind of hard to, like, it's so difficult to connect to music sometimes, but when you do, it's just such a powerful feeling. For this, it just made me feel like, I don't know, it made me, because I was always like a weird kid in high school, so like for me, like this weird guy coming out here and like, going, and like screeching on it.
From Chicago too.
On tracks and stuff, exactly, and then just, I don't know, it just really, really resonated with me. And then there's just so much on here, and like That's Love is really good. Favorite song was the first song I'd actually heard off of it, because I was a huge Childish Gambino fan ahead of time. We're actually about to get into that, but yeah, I could keep going on running for hours. Point of the matter is, it's like, this is a terrific project. If you haven't listened to it and you don't like the new direction Chance has gone in, which I think a lot of older Chance fans kind of feel that way. Some of them kind of dick ride and try to stick around with the wagon and try to pretend like Hot Shower is a good song when all it is just awful, awful juke music. Listen to acid rap.
Acid rap was, oh man,
heavenly noises for me.
That's fair until we get the rodeo. I'll speak my piece on on the acid rap. I think my favorite song, 3 favorite songs, was definitely "Smoke Again," "Juice," and "Everybody's Something." I loved "Everybody's Something." Mostly because that was my first introduction to Saba. I loved Saba's verse on that. I loved his voice. I don't know how weird that sounds, but Saba's voice and just his vocal inflections and everything, and how, for lack of a better term, I guess, like high pitched and whiny it sounded. I really liked that, and like on top of the beat there, and yeah, Lost was my introduction to No Name as well. I don't think Mick Jenkins was on it. I'm probably just saying that 'cause Chicago in general, but
Mick Jenkins wasn't on this project.
Yeah, I was about to say, but yeah, introduction to Saba, No Name.
Bino was on it. Action Bronson was on it. Twista was on it, I think. Wasn't he? Vic Mensa was on it. This is for Vic Mensa.
Vic Mensa. That was my introduction to Vic Mensa too. Because after I heard this, I went straight to the internet tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good project too.
Yeah, and then you hear Tweaking, and then it's like, okay, full circle.
Yeah.
It's like everything makes sense. Everything's right in the world.
Yeah.
But
we did put 10 Day on. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to put 10 Day. 10 Day is really good too. You should definitely listen to 10 Day.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. We'll put it in heavenly noises until we get it the fuck out of there. What do we got here? We have Because the Internet by Childish Gambino. I'll tell you right now, this isn't in my heavenly noises, but Gambino, let me tell you about Gambino, John. Being me, right? I had this upbringing where I heard the same thing every time, bro. And this is less about the album for me, less about the album and more of who he is as a person. I've had the, sorry, I'm just going away here,
My eyes are up here, Xavier.
bro.
There's some big-titted woman watching this video right now. She's gonna think you're staring at her boobies.
My upbringing, I've heard the same thing every time, and it was basically, Xavier, why do you talk like this? Why don't you curse? Why don't you do all the regular things that we would see? Of course, white kids telling me this, and black kids. So, why aren't you doing these generic black kid things? Why aren't you, on the checklist here? What's happening? You talk very proper, and you carry yourself a certain way. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. Just sit over there. We don't want you eating lunch with us anymore. And that was basically my whole upbringing. I heard that up till probably freshman year. The elementary, middle school, it's like, well, why aren't you? You're not black enough, bro. And Gambino had this song called "Not Going Back" off of EP. I don't think he had an official.
It was the one with the leaves on it.
Yeah, it was just called EP. I don't think he had an official name. And he had this line, I don't act black, I just, oh God, I'm butchering it. I don't act black, whatever that mean. I just act me, I don't act black, whatever that means. Something along those lines. If you haven't heard it, listen to Not Going Back. It's a fantastic song as well. He has this like little duet part on the outro with this girl. I don't know what her name is, but that part is beautiful. But the main thing is coming back to him and Because the Internet. He just means a lot to me as a person, as an African American man doing the most creative shit in the world, because he's basically what I aspire to be. He's my Will Smith, bro. Yeah, we gotta talk about the album, but what Gambino means to me is someone who's not afraid to be himself, and he was the first person that was basically like, I'm gonna do me, and you do you. Basically, I'm gonna be myself, and I saw that as a young black kid, and I was like, okay, it's okay to be this way. He's just like me, and it's just really dope and reassuring, and I'm sure everybody has that moment. I always found it corny for people to say like this song changed my life, and whatever the case is, or this is the lyrics that I'm gonna die by, to tattoo it on them and things like that. I'm like, whatever, it's corny. But then I think about like how I had that moment with Donald saying that, and it just really turned my life around in terms of being comfortable with who I am to this day. Because the Internet, because that's what we're reviewing.